We have spent a lot of money, as you said, we as a country, in the transition arrangement. When we look at the demand that's being made here, I am happy that you clarified three different issues here that's been conflated. When we look at this situation, I do have to ask you, the voice you're hearing, incidentally, listeners, in case you just joined us for brunch on 107.7 at 10:35 in the morning, the voice you're hearing is that of the Senator, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Lands and Fisheries, Clarence Rambharat. He's graced us with his presence this morning to clarify this issue, because when you see people marching on the streets and you hear the representation made, often it's skewed. I mean, one cannot blame those for advancing their agenda. However, the clarity brings everything clear to us. This question then, just in completion, so I am really totally clear on this. This question of the EU funds is something that's awaiting review.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes, it's the government has to meet the preconditions, and having looked at them, we are nowhere near meeting. If we're realistic, I've said to the country, we're not going to ramp up agricultural production overnight. It would take some time. There are issues. I've set three major priorities to the ministry. Restructuring the ministry so that it adequately serve all the stakeholders, reviewing and making sure that the governance arrangements allow us to function in a way we are accountable to the taxpayers, and dealing with people issues. The ministry has to ramp up its technical capacity so that if we are going to meet those preconditions, it's going to, in my view, from where
wait until we get a chance.
It's going to take time. We talk about a 10% increase in agriculture production. Well, the data is unreliable. We must create a system where we could measure production and where we could track production and where we could say, these are the things which are influencing production and these are the things which are not helping us. So we talk about additional acreages. We have a target in the EU agreement which sets a target for the transition of former cane lands into agriculture. Now, there have been mechanisms used by the past administration and they've failed. And one of the concerns I have is our ability to move those Caroni lands under this 2-acre parcel arrangement into productive agriculture. But that is my challenge as minister. I have to deal with that.
That's a challenge for the nation, because we need to have them back there. Otherwise, it makes a joke of what is being proposed, which is to look inside to start producing more. It
does, but alongside that, outside of those arrangements, as minister, I have to, create a way forward for those persons outside of the Caroni arrangements who require land tenure. Many of them are in cultivation already, and I have to carve a way for them. And I've said at the end of March, I'm going to make a very clear statement on how I intend to do that.
Mr. Minister, I want to go back to something you said earlier, which is, and we were setting up the picture of dissecting the components that surrounds this Caroni issue. But you mentioned the area of folks who are now able to sell their land, whether it is for agriculture or not. I think I am clear in extrapolating that you are in disagreement with that arrangement.
Complete disagreement.
Good enough. Now, so how advanced are we? How advanced are we in correcting that wrong?
I am, again, it is the chances or the opportunity to change that may be very limited. We're talking about decisions which have been made. The agreements were redrafted. The lease arrangements, the documents were redrafted. The beneficiaries have been, it's been made known that these conditions have changed. And the government is very concerned about getting into a position in relation to the law that we can't win. But there are other ways in which, as a government, on behalf of the real owners of the assets, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that we ensure that those lands are put into productive agriculture, and if they are not, we enforce the conditions in those leases which allow us to retake possession. But my concern has always been that we end up with two systems of agricultural leases in Trinidad. The Caroni workers, the former Caroni workers who can freely trade their leases, and the other users of state lands for agricultural purposes who have a lot of restrictions in those leases. So it's something that the ministry is working on and getting the appropriate legal advice. But whichever way it goes, the ministry has a responsibility to ensure that those lands which are for agricultural use remain in agricultural use.
If all else failed, there is still the one opportunity called eminent domain. At some point, you have to get to where you say, all right, I understand all of this. Those conditions have changed. I only proffer that there is an eminent domain option.
It's an area where we will inevitably, maybe not on this issue of the leases, but inevitably, we will enter into that area in dealing with other transactions in the land portfolio.
Indeed. Mr. Minister, thank you for taking the time, but before you leave, there are two things I want you to do. Speak directly to the cane farmers, now that we have deconstructed the confusion here. Those who were down protesting, speak directly to them, please, so they understand what is being done. We just read the overview. Speak directly to them.
Well, I'm very confident that the government would take the right decision on this matter. We've laid it out. We've said that we, as a cabinet, we understand what has gone before. We understand the terms of the European agreement. We understand what was offered to the cane farmers in April 2015. And the Attorney General has been tasked with providing advice to the government, and I'm sure that we would act in accordance with the law. We've also put out the opinion of the former Attorney General, where he himself said that the government does not have the ability to draw down on this tranche unless it meets the preconditions. So I think I'm confident that the government will do what is right in the interest of the people of this country.
You are under pressure from just about every angle you can turn, but you handle it very well. You are known as the most active and minister who's doing clarification. This morning is an example of that. I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm saying that to say, honestly, when the nation look at the demands being put on you, your ministry, the agricultural sector to produce, you said a moment ago it will take some time to do this. How are we squaring the urgency of producing locally with the serious state of disrepair of the infrastructure?
Well, I think infrastructure is one thing, but the main challenge because when you go to Macoya Market, you see the productive capacity of our farmers. You see the produce, and the problem is the proliferation of the middlemen and the way the sector is constructed. And I think our first task is not in terms of increasing production, but managing the production that we have now and making sure the government's policy is farm to table, making sure that produce can get to the consumer without passing through several middlemen, increasing the value that the farmer takes from it and reducing the price to the consumer. So that is something that NAMDEVCO is charged with, and that has been my concern initially. Not so much in increasing production, where I still have a problem of the farmers not benefiting from it and the consumer not benefiting from it. And as I later in the year, as we develop, I've set some deadlines for the agricultural sector plan, which will include specific targets across the commodities. I've set the target of July 31st, 2016 to have a draft, and September 30th to have the final agricultural sector plan, September 30th, 2016, so that in the new financial year we are going to work in accordance with the agricultural sector plan. Coming into government, I did not have the time to make the sort of contributions to the financial planning as I would have liked to. I've been across the country. By the time we went to the retreat in Tobago, I had completed 75 outreaches across the country. I'd covered every single aspect of my portfolio, including the ones that people forget, like the zoo and the Caroni swamp and the water wheel and Diego Martin and those things which are just as important to me. And I think I'm well prepared when the Minister of Finance sends out his call circular for the 2016-17 budget to make contributions to that would be aligned to the new agricultural sector plan. In the interim, my job is to fix the ministry so that it becomes more responsive and to deal with land tenure, which to me, you see, I believe that the farmers of this country have gotten so tired of talking about the lack of leases and the lack of tenure and our inability to give them that confidence through land tenure, that they have, become demotivated in terms of really aggressively pursuing production.
Well, circumstances have surely taken your ministry right up there. I know finance will be listening to you as the rest of the country is. And I thank you for taking the time to come in here this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the clarity. Now I can walk out understanding this whole situation with the Caroni situation. I've been going left, right, and center, and I trust that our listeners benefited. I'm confident they did from your clarity this morning.
Thank you very much.
Senator, Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Lands and Fisheries, Clarence Rambharat, thank you so much for being with us today.